If you say you've moved on, why are you still talking to the person who broke you? Have you ever wondered why some people keep the door open for their exes? I mean, the relationship ends, the chapter closes, or at least it's supposed to. But then, the texts keep coming. A birthday message, a just checking in, or worse, grabbing coffee like nothing ever happened. Is it just about being polite? Or is there something deeper there? Something unresolved? Something convenient? I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I do have one story, one I've never shared before, until now. See, this isn't just about people. This is about me, and how one unanswered question changed the course of my life. If you say you've moved on, why are you still talking to the person who broke you? I know I might sound old-fashioned, maybe I am, but I also believe some doors, once shut, should stay shut. You ever felt that way? Let me tell you what happened to me. And then maybe you'll tell me what you would have done. I knew Rachel long before we ever became anything. Back then, she was stuck in a toxic relationship with a guy named Derek. I wasn't trying to be a savior. I wasn't even in the picture. I was just around, watching from the sidelines. I saw her walk out of the cafe more than once, mascara smudged, eyes red. I noticed how her hands trembled when a message came in, and how she'd quickly turn her phone face down like it didn't matter. Derek didn't hit her, at least not with fists. He used silence to make her feel invisible, words to make her shrink. I never interfered, never told her what to do. I just stayed close, not as a man but as someone who hoped one day she'd choose herself, because some doors you can only walk out of on your own. And then one day, she did. The day she finally left him, it wasn't some big dramatic moment. No shouting, no public breakdown. It was quiet, almost still. Like the moment before a deep breath. She packed a bag. She didn't say goodbye. She just left. And for a while she disappeared. From him, from everyone, but not from me. I'd get short texts now and then. A thumbs up, a thanks for checking in. Little pieces of her, slowly surfacing. I never pushed. Didn't ask her to talk about it. Didn't try to fix what was broken. I just stayed present. Offered laughter when she needed it. Silence when she didn't. Pizza and late-night movies when words were too heavy. And then one night, months later, I asked her out. I figured she'd say no. She surprised me. She smiled, nervous but real. "Yeah," she said, "I think I'm ready." Things moved fast after that. Maybe it was because we already had history. Or maybe, when you've both been broken before, you don't waste time pretending. We weren't playing games. We knew what we didn't want. We knew how fragile something real could be. So when we fell hard. Within a few months, she was spending more nights at my place than her own. Within a year, we were engaged. And honestly, it felt right. We cooked dinner together, even if it was just boxed mac and cheese. We binge-watched bad TV. We made grocery runs feel like date nights. Even folding laundry felt like home. There was this rhythm between us, quiet, effortless, like we were building something solid, brick by brick. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop, and neither was she. Or at least, that's what I believed. It started on a regular Thursday evening. We'd just finished dinner, some stir-fry she threw together while I scrolled through my emails. We laughed about how bad the rice turned out. It felt like any other night. But then, I couldn't find my phone. I checked the kitchen, the couch cushions, under the throw blanket. Nothing. So, I did what anyone would do. I grabbed her phone to call mine. Totally normal, right? But the moment I opened her call log, I saw it. Derek. His name, right there. Recent call, just a few days ago. It hit me like a cold splash of water. Not a missed call, not a pocket dial. They'd talked. I froze. And in that moment, a dozen quiet memories rearranged themselves in my head. Things I'd brushed off. Moments I didn't question. Until now. I walked into the bedroom. She was lying there, scrolling through her phone, legs tangled in the blanket. She looked up and smiled. Just a normal night. I held her phone out and asked, "Why are you still talking to Derek?" For a second, her smile faded. Not fear, not guilt, just surprise. Like she hadn't expected me to notice. She didn't deny it, didn't even try. She said, "It's harmless, we're just catching up." He reached out. I didn't want to be rude. I listened. I wanted to believe her, I really did. But something in the way she said it, casual, too casual, made my chest tighten. I told her honestly, it makes me uncomfortable. You told me you were done with him, that he was toxic, that he hurt you. She nodded slowly, then said, if it makes you feel better, I'll cut contact. And just like that, I thought it was over. But it wasn't, not even close. After that night, she did what she said. At least, I think she did. No more calls from Derek, no messages that I saw. Everything went back to normal. But you know how sometimes it's not what changes on the outside, it's what you start to feel? That was us. She didn't pull away. She didn't fight. She just became harder to reach. Little things. She stopped laughing at my dumb jokes. She'd get quiet during dinner. Her hugs felt distracted, like her body was there, but her mind wasn't. Her phone, always on her, even to the bathroom. Even folding laundry, it stayed in her back pocket like it might run away if she let go. I kept telling myself, everyone's glued to their phones. It's probably nothing. But deep down, I knew. Something had shifted. And it wasn't shifting back. I didn't want to be that guy, the jealous one, the one who checks phones, who keeps score, who reads too much into silence. So I let it slide. Or at least, I told myself I did. I kept going through the motions, work, dinner, a movie now and then, kisses on the forehead, goodnight routines that looked the same, but didn't feel the same. And yet, that voice inside me, the one I tried so hard to ignore, kept getting louder. Something's off. You're not imagining this. You saw the signs once. Are you going to ignore them again? I pushed back, told myself, come on, man, don't turn love into a police investigation. But it's hard. It's hard when trust has a crack, even a hairline one. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it, and suddenly every smile feels like a test, every silence, a secret, and I was failing both. It wasn't a plan. At least, that's what I told myself. That morning I left the house early, had a meeting downtown and forgot my external drive, the one with all my pitch files. Halfway to the office, I realized. So I turned around. No big deal. I'd just swing by, grab it, head out again. Quick. Simple. Normally I'd text Rachel. Hey, heading home for a sec. But that day, I didn't. Not because I was hiding anything. I just didn't. Maybe a part of me wanted to see something. Or maybe I was hoping I wouldn't. The house was quiet when I walked in. Her car was gone. Fine. I wasn't expecting her. I found the hard drive sitting exactly where I left it, right on the kitchen counter, under a stack of unopened mail. I was already halfway out the door when a thought crossed my mind. You know what? I could use a coffee. And that changed everything. There's a little cafe just a few blocks from our place. Nothing fancy. Just the kind of spot where they know your name, your order, your mood. I parked, walked in, nodded at the barista like always. Ordered my regular, iced coffee, no sugar. As I waited by the pickup counter, I turned to glance around the room, just out of habit. And that's when I saw them. Rachel, sitting in the back corner, facing Derek. They didn't see me. They were deep in conversation, leaning in, her hand tucked near her chin like she was listening hard. His eyes locked on her like nothing else existed. At first, my brain didn't register. It was so normal, so casual, like this was something they did often. I stood still. 1 second. 2. Then I walked straight to their table. Rachel looked up, startled, eyes wide. I didn't yell, didn't ask anything. I just said, "Don't come home." And then I turned and walked out. I don't remember walking back to my car, don't remember unlocking the door or buckling my seatbelt. All I know is, one moment I was inside that cafe, and the next, I was driving. Everything felt slow, muted, like the world had gone underwater. I wasn't angry, not yet. I wasn't crying either. I just felt empty, like someone had opened a door inside my chest and let everything out. The worst part? I wasn't surprised. There was no explosion, no betrayal I hadn't already imagined in my head 100 times. It just hurt, in a quiet, predictable kind of way, like I'd seen the ending, and now I was just catching up to it in real time. I went through the rest of that day on autopilot, emails, meetings, small talk, but inside, I was still sitting at that café, still looking at her, still hearing myself say, "Don't come home." When I got home that evening, she was already there, sitting on the couch, hands clasped, eyes red. She stood up the moment I walked in, like she'd been rehearsing for hours, and maybe she had. Before I could say anything, she started talking. "It wasn't what you think. He's going through something and needed someone to talk to. It wasn't secretive, it wasn't romantic, I just wanted to be there for him." She said she was being kind, supportive, that she thought I'd understand. She talked like what she did was noble, like helping the man who once broke her was some kind of moral high ground. I let her speak, all of it. I didn't interrupt once, and when she finished I asked one question, not with anger, just quiet clarity. "Didn't you promise me you were done talking to him?" She paused, just for a second, but it was enough. That pause, it wasn't long, barely a second, but it landed like a hammer. She could have denied it, could have told me I misunderstood, could have looked me in the eye and said, "Yes, I promised," and I kept it. But she didn't. And in that silence, I heard everything I needed to hear. I asked again, slower this time, almost gently, "So what are you doing with him now?" She flinched, started talking over herself, scrambling, trying to stitch together another story, one that might make this feel less like betrayal and more like a mistake. But I wasn't angry, not anymore. I was tired of second-guessing, tired of wondering which version of her I was talking to, and honestly, I didn't need more words, because words lie, but energy doesn't. And hers? It was already somewhere else. She broke down, right there in front of me, tears streaming, voice cracking. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't know how to explain it. Please, don't end this. We can fix it." And I believed her, not the words, but the pain. The desperation in her voice was real, but it was also too late. Because love, real love, can survive a lot, but not lies. Not the quiet kind that linger in phone calls and just coffee catch-ups. I looked at her, really looked, and I realized I wasn't angry. I wasn't even heartbroken anymore. I was done. So I said it, plain, simple. "Pack your things." She froze. "I'm not going to fight for a place I was supposed to already have." She kept crying, kept hoping I'd change my mind, but I didn't. And the moment she saw that, she finally walked toward the bedroom, to pack. She packed a small bag, not everything, just the essentials, as if this wasn't permanent, as if I just needed space. She said she'd go to her parents' place in Connecticut, stay a few days. "Give you time to breathe," she said. I didn't argue, didn't ask for more, just nodded. She stood by the door for a while, keys in hand, eyes searching mine for some last-minute sign, a flinch, a crack, a "please stay." But I had none to give, because this wasn't about cooling off. This wasn't about space. This was about clarity. And I think somewhere deep down, she knew that. But it's easier to pretend a door is cracked open than to admit it's already closed. So she walked out, still hoping I'd call, still thinking I'd wake up missing her. But I didn't. I missed the version of her that had stopped existing long before she ever left. A few days passed. I thought she'd come back to collect the rest of her things. Thought maybe, just maybe, she'd want to close this chapter with dignity. But she didn't. The closet still held her coats. Her books lined half the shelf. Her toothbrush sat quietly in the cup next to mine, like nothing had changed. And that's when I realized she still thought this was temporary, that I'd cool off, call her, crack first. But I wasn't angry, and I wasn't waiting. So I did what I needed to do. I packed everything, folded each shirt, stacked the boxes by the front door, labeled them clearly, just like I would if I were moving offices, not lives. Then I called her, told her calmly, "Come by tomorrow. Your things are ready." She paused on the phone, and for the first time, I think she understood. This wasn't space, this was closure. She showed up the next afternoon, hair pulled back, sweater I'd bought her last Christmas, makeup soft, like she was trying to look like us again. She knocked once. I opened the door. Her eyes scanned the living room, saw the boxes lined up by the entrance, her name written on everyone, and just like that, her smile cracked. "So, that's it?" she asked. You're not even going to talk this through? I shrugged, not to be cold, just because there wasn't anything left to say. I already listened, I said, and I already decided. She stepped in, slowly, looked around like she was waking up in someone else's home, like this wasn't where we laughed, where we danced barefoot in the kitchen. But those memories, they weren't here anymore. They left when she did. She picked up a box, hands trembling, and for the first time, she didn't say a word. After she left with the last box, I stood there for a while, just still. The quiet was heavy, not peaceful, not sad, just full of the things we didn't say, of the weight you only feel when something ends, really ends. But then, the text started. First, I can't believe you're doing this. You're really giving up that easy? Then came the shift. You're so insecure. You never trusted me anyway. You just can't handle a strong woman. And finally, the sharpest one. Derek was always better than you. I read them, one by one, didn't flinch, didn't reply. Because those words, they weren't about me. They were about her not knowing how to lose, about needing to burn the bridge so she wouldn't be tempted to cross it again. So I texted back, just once, go be with him. And that was it. No more calls, no more messages, just silence. The days after were strange, not unbearable, not dramatic, just quiet. I'd wake up, make coffee for one, play music I used to play for both of us, and realize I'd forgotten the lyrics halfway through. The house didn't feel empty. It felt still, like it was waiting for me to finally be alone with the truth. And I was. I didn't miss her. Not really. I missed the feeling I thought we had, the future I had built in my mind, the us that maybe only ever existed in my version of the story. But I didn't spiral, didn't fall apart. I went to work, ate my meals, kept my promises. But at night, when it was just me and the silence, I'd sit there, not to analyze, not to regret, just to feel. Because some lessons don't come in thunder, they come in stillness. The first lesson I walked away with, trust is everything. And once it breaks, really breaks, you can try to patch it, say the right words, make the right promises, pretend the crack was never there. But deep down, you'll always know. It's like trying to fix a shattered mirror with tape. You might line up the edges, smooth it out, stand it back on the wall, but you'll still see the fracture. Still catch your reflection split down the middle. And worse, you'll keep getting cut in the same spot, over and over, because trust doesn't just need repair, it needs rebirth, and not everyone's willing or able to do that. I used to think love was enough, that it could carry the weight of anything, but without trust, love becomes negotiation, survival, fear dressed up as loyalty. So yeah, lesson 1. Once trust is cracked, the mirror never reflects the same again. The second thing I learned? Boundaries matter. More than love, more than chemistry, more than history. Because when you don't set them early, you end up bleeding quietly, hoping the other person will notice. I should have drawn the line the moment I saw her texting him, not screamed, not accused, just said, this doesn't work for me. But instead I stayed silent, told myself to be understanding, told myself love was about trust, when really, love is also about respect. And here's the hard truth. If someone truly respects you, they won't test your boundaries. They'll honor them, even when you're not watching. But I gave her space, not as a gift, but as a gamble, hoping she'd choose me, without pressure, without force. She didn't. And that's on me. Not because I let her cross the line, but because I never drew it in the first place. Here's the third thing I learned. Anyone can say the right thing. Not everyone can do it. Rachel told me she cut him off. She looked me in the eye, said it gently, said it convincingly. And for a while, I believed her. Because we want to believe the people we love. We want to trust their words, even when our gut says otherwise. But here's the truth I couldn't ignore anymore. If someone's actions don't match their words, believe the actions. She said it was over with him, but the messages kept going. The meetup happened. The lies stacked, slowly but steadily. Not dramatic. Not explosive, just enough to prove that what she said and what she lived were two different things. And when that gap shows up in a relationship again and again, it's not a mistake. It's a pattern. And patterns don't break just because someone gets caught. They only break when someone chooses to stop repeating them. She didn't. The fourth thing I learned? You can't build a future with someone who's still tethered to their past. I thought Rachel had moved on, that she'd closed that door, locked it, and thrown away the key. But what I didn't realize was that she still had one foot in that room, even if the other was with me. And no matter how much love you bring, you can't compete with a ghost. You can't love someone out of their history. They have to do that work themselves. Being emotionally available isn't just about showing up. It's about not being haunted while you're here. Because when you try to build a life with someone who hasn't let go, it's like trying to run a race with a rope still tied to someone else. You move, but you don't really move forward. You give, but they're still reaching backward. And eventually, you realize you're not in a relationship. You're in a tug of war. The last thing I learned, sometimes walking away isn't weakness, it's wisdom. We grow up thinking love means holding on, pushing through, fighting for it, no matter what. But here's what no one tells you. If you're the only one fighting, you're not in love. You're in survival. I didn't walk away because I stopped caring. I walked away because I finally realized I was the only one holding the rope, and I was losing myself in the process. Love should feel like home, not like war. It should build you, not break you down slowly. So yes, it hurt. Yes, I cried. Yes, there were nights I stared at the ceiling wondering if I gave up too soon. But deep down, I knew I didn't give up on her. I just stopped giving up on me. And honestly, that made all the difference. So now that you've heard it all, let me ask you something. What would you have done if you were me? Would you have forgiven her? Given her another chance? Held on a little longer? Or would you have done what I did? Not out of anger, but out of clarity. I'm not here to say I handled it perfectly. I'm not here to play the victim. I'm just a guy who loved someone, trusted her, and had to choose between the future I imagined and the truth I couldn't ignore. And I'm guessing if you've watched this far, you've been there too. Maybe not with the same story, but with the same feeling. That moment where you ask yourself, am I still fighting for love or just afraid to be alone? It's not an easy question, but it's the one that changed everything for me. What about you? Here's the part most people don't talk about. After a breakup, especially one that shakes your core, you don't just lose the person. You lose the version of yourself that existed with them. The man I was with Rachel, he was loving, loyal, hopeful, but also too quiet, too forgiving, too afraid to speak up when something felt wrong. And when she left, that version of me left too. At first I felt hollow, like I didn't know who I was without her. But over time I realized something powerful. I wasn't rebuilding. I was reintroducing myself to myself. I started doing things alone again, reading more, saying no more, not out of bitterness, but because I finally remembered what I deserved. And honestly, that man, the one who came after the fall, feels more honest than the one who kept swallowing his voice to keep the peace. This morning I made coffee, just for me. Black, no sugar, no cream. I sat by the window, didn't check my phone right away, just watched the light move across the floor. It was quiet, but not the kind of quiet that hurts, the kind that holds you. That says, you're okay now. I answered some emails, took a walk, stopped by the corner bookstore and picked up a novel I'll probably never finish, but that's not the point. I smiled at a stranger. They smiled back, and for a moment, I felt it. Stillness, not loneliness, not distraction, just me, existing, not waiting for a text, not wondering if I did enough, not trying to fix anyone or prove anything, just living, just breathing. And honestly, that kind of peace used to feel impossible. Now, it feels like home. Last week, a mutual friend mentioned her, casually, like it was nothing. I think Rachel's dating someone new, they said. Saw her in Brooklyn with some guy, looked happy. And for a second, my heart didn't clench, my breath didn't catch. I just nodded, smiled a little, took another sip of coffee. No anger, no jealousy, not even nostalgia, just a quiet acknowledgement. She's somewhere else now, in another story, with another beginning. And me? I'm okay with that. Because that's what healing really looks like. It's not fireworks. It's not some dramatic, I'm finally over her moment. It's when you hear her name, see her face, or imagine her laughing again. And you don't feel like it belongs to you anymore. You just let it pass, like a breeze. And in that silence you realize, you didn't just survive her. You outgrew the part of you that couldn't let go. I used to wish it had never happened. The whole thing. Meeting her, falling for her, the late nights, the trust, the unraveling. I wanted to rewind it all, cut it out, pretend it was just a wrong turn. But now, I wouldn't erase a single piece of it, because every moment, even the hard ones, especially the hard ones, built something in me. They taught me how to speak up, how to stay honest with myself, how to stop shrinking just to keep someone close. They showed me my limits, and how far I was willing to bend before I broke. And yes, they broke me. But they also rebuilt me, with stronger parts, clearer vision, cleaner boundaries, quieter strength. I'm not the same man I was before her, and I'm thankful for that. Because now, I don't just know what I want. I know what I'll never accept again. People ask me sometimes, would you ever do it again? Could you still believe in love after that? And the answer is yes. Absolutely, yes. But not the way I did before. I won't love in silence. I won't love by erasing myself piece by piece just to make someone else feel whole. I won't confuse effort with begging, or loyalty with self-abandonment. Next time, I'll still be kind, still be soft where it matters, still bring flowers for no reason, still stay up late talking about everything and nothing, but I'll also walk away at the first sign that I'm disappearing again, because love shouldn't ask you to vanish. It should ask you to show up, fully. The version of me that's coming won't be harder, just clearer, cleaner, and when the right person comes along, they won't be confused by that clarity. They'll meet me in it, or they won't stay long, and that's okay too. I don't need fireworks anymore. Don't need some whirlwind romance that burns fast and bright. I just want real, quiet, steady, present. Someone who asks how my day was, and actually listens to the answer. Someone who doesn't play games with distance or silence, who doesn't need drama to feel alive. I want mornings that start with coffee and no rush, evenings that end with comfort, not conflict. I want someone who fights with me, not against me, when life gets messy, because it always will. I want to sit in a room with her and not say a word, and still feel like everything is understood. Not perfect, not flashy, just honest. That kind of love, it doesn't make headlines, it won't go viral, but it lasts. And that's what I want now. Not someone to rescue me, not someone to complete me, just someone to stand beside me without needing me to disappear to fit. I don't hate her. I know that might surprise some people. But it's true. She was part of my life, part of my becoming. She taught me what I needed to learn, even if it came wrapped in pain. And I'll never say it was all bad, because it wasn't. There were good mornings, there were real laughs, there were moments I thought, maybe this is it. But just because something is beautiful for a while doesn't mean it's meant to stay. Some people are chapters, not the whole book. And when you keep trying to stretch them across pages they don't belong in, you only rip the spine of your own story. She was a chapter I'll never regret, but I won't reread it, and I won't rewrite it. I'll close the page, mark where it ended, and keep going, because the story doesn't stop with her, not even close. People think healing comes all at once. Like you wake up one day and everything stops hurting. That wasn't how it worked for me. For me, healing looked like my friend Alex texting me memes at 11 p.m., my sister dropping off soup without asking, a neighbor waving at me every morning like nothing had changed. It looked like saying yes to dinner plans, even when I wanted to cancel. It looked like finally going back to the gym, not to bounce back, just to move. It looked like laughing again and feeling surprised that it wasn't forced. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud, and no one posted a quote about it. But it was real, because every little thing, every small, "You okay?" every cup of coffee, someone didn't let me drink alone, they mattered. They didn't fix me, but they reminded me I wasn't broken beyond repair. And sometimes, that reminder is all you need to keep going. I was walking home from the grocery store, bag in one hand, phone in the other. The sun was setting, not in some cinematic way, just soft orange light brushing across rooftops, and I caught my reflection in a car window. Didn't plan to look, but there it was. I was smiling, not because of a text, not because of a memory, not because someone made me feel seen, just because. And I stopped right there on the sidewalk, looked at my own face and thought, I haven't seen you in a while. It wasn't a loud victory. No music swelled. No applause in the background. Just a quiet moment where I wasn't hurting, wasn't hoping, wasn't pretending. I was simply here, in my body, in my life, and it felt good. Not amazing, not perfect, just good. And sometimes after everything, good is a miracle in itself. When I think about falling in love again, I don't imagine fireworks, or some perfect match who finishes my sentences. I don't need someone to complete me. I'm already whole. What I hope for now is someone who's whole too, someone who's done their own healing, who doesn't expect me to carry their past or save them from their loneliness. I want someone who knows who they are and likes who they are, because I'll show up the same way, not empty, not searching for a missing piece, but steady, open, clear. We won't need to merge into one person. We'll walk side by side, two complete humans choosing each other every day, not out of need, but out of want. That's what love means to me now, not losing myself in someone else, but bringing my whole self to something that feels calm and honest and alive, not perfect, just possible. There are things I won't allow again, not because I'm bitter, not because I'm afraid, but because I've finally learned what peace costs and how expensive it is to lose it. I won't chase unclear love. If you're unsure, that's your journey, not my confusion to carry. I won't ignore red flags just because I'm already invested. Emotional debt is not a reason to stay. I won't make myself smaller to make someone else feel more in control. I won't call chaos passion, or silence strength, or mixed signals mystery. I want clarity. I want consistency. I want kindness, the daily kind, not the grand gestures that come after a storm. If that's too much, I'm not the one. And that's okay, because I'd rather be alone with truth than together with doubt. That's not ego. That's peace. And peace isn't something I'll ever trade again. I used to pour everything I had into someone else. Time, patience, softness, second chances. I gave love like it was limitless, but I rarely gave it to me. When things went wrong, I blamed myself. When someone pulled away, I tried harder. I treated their silence as my failure, their confusion as my problem to solve. But after everything, I started doing something different. I turned that love inward. When I made mistakes, I forgave myself, the way I used to forgive others. When I felt lonely, I didn't chase noise. I sat with it, held it gently, let it pass. When I had nothing to offer anyone else, I stopped calling that selfish. I called it rest. The love I used to give away so easily, I finally kept some, and it changed me. Because the most honest love you'll ever give is the kind you don't expect back. Just the kind you give because you finally believe you're worth it. If you asked me now how I feel about the whole thing, I'd say, grateful. Not because it didn't hurt, it did. Not because it was fair, it wasn't. And not because it ended the way I wanted, because it didn't. But I'm still grateful. Because it showed me where I was still unfinished, where I needed to grow, where I was giving away pieces of myself without realizing I was running out. It showed me my strength, but not the kind that yells, the kind that lets go without needing to be right, the kind that stands in a quiet room and says, even if it broke me, I still choose to stay soft. And most of all, it led me back to myself. I stopped chasing closure, stopped waiting for an apology, stopped needing someone to tell me I mattered, because I finally started saying it to myself, and I finally started believing it. If you're watching this and your heart's still in pieces, this part is for you. If you're checking your phone hoping for a message that never comes, if you're waking up with that tightness in your chest, wondering how something that felt so real could end so silently, I get it. I've been there. And I won't tell you it gets better overnight. But I will tell you this. You're not crazy for caring. You're not weak for breaking. You're not foolish for believing. It means you loved fully. It means you showed up. It means your heart still works, even if it's bruised. And someday, maybe not today, you'll hear your own laugh again and not flinch. You'll take a deep breath and it won't hurt. You'll look in the mirror and see someone you recognize again. Until then, be gentle with yourself. You're doing better than you think, and you're not alone, not ever. Looking back, maybe this story was never really about her, not about Rachel, not about the texts, the cafe, the goodbye. Maybe it was about me, about learning to stop chasing people who can't see what I bring to the table, about realizing that love isn't proven by how long you stay in pain, but by how well you choose yourself when no one else will. I used to think heartbreak was the end of something, but now I know. Sometimes it's the beginning of boundaries, of clarity, of soft strength, of finally knowing your worth, without needing someone else to name it for you. So if you've been through it, if you're still going through it, I hope this gave you something real. Not answers, but presence. And if you've ever loved someone so much that it hurt, I want to hear your story too. Because the truth is, the more we speak it, the less alone we all feel.